Welcome, everyone. Calling to order the special holiday edition of the Transportation Advisory Committee. Technical Advisory Committee. We will start, as always, with introductions.
Edie Takata, City of Rohnert Park.
Elizabeth Tyree, Sonoma County Regional Parks.
Craig Scott, City of Gotati. Steve Urbanik, Sonoma County.
Dana Trey, SCTA, RCPA.
Hunter McLaughlin, Sonoma County Pie.
Nida Dahu, Sonoma County Pie.
Rob Sprinkle, Santa Rosa.
Ashley Cotter, City of Sonoma.
Brendan Barrett, Town of Windsor.
Shauna Gauze, SCTA, RCPA.
Larry Zimmer, City of Healdsburg. Back of the room.
Peter Brooke, SCTA, RCPA.
Brooke, SCTA, RCPA.
I'm Garcia, SCTA, RCPA.
Andrew Nichols, SCTA, RCPA.
And then online.
Tony Bertolero, City of Sebastopol.
Margot Cañas, SCTA, RCPA.
Derek Montani, City of Cloverdale.
Thanks, everyone, and welcome. Next up is public comment. Not seeing anyone from the public.
Also, just want to acknowledge Aaron Ferguson and Orlando Ramirez on the call as well. And with that, Chair Zimmer, we do have a quorum.
Okay, great. No public comment though, correct?
No public comment was received.
Approval of meeting minutes of October 24th. Anyone have comments? Seeing none, passes unanimously. On to item 4, Countywide Active Transportation Plan. Informational item, Dana or Aaron?
Yeah, I'll start off. Will Aaron bring up the slideshow? Thank you. So some of you may have seen a presentation on the Countywide Active Transportation Plan already at the CBPAC meeting, or be familiar with it through development of your jurisdiction's active transportation plan under the contract with SCTA. But just to kind of recap, the countywide plan is an umbrella under which the local jurisdiction plans sit, and we've been working on updating 7 of the jurisdiction plans through the contract with Fair and Peers and Caltrans Sustainable Communities grant. Once the other 3 jurisdictions adopt their plans, San Rosa, Petaluma, and Windsor, we can do an administrative update to the countywide plan to incorporate them under that umbrella as well. There's one countywide document that has all the projects for all the plans countywide. The city plans under this project closed public comment at the end of November. And then the countywide plan is available for public comment through the end of this week. For the unincorporated county, that plan is actually available. The public draft is open for public comment through February 24th. So this piece is really going to focus on the countywide plan and also resources and tools that are available for all of the jurisdictions to take advantage of that are included in that plan. So with that, I will turn it over to Aaron Ferguson, who's the lead on this project from Fair and Peers.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll go through a few slides here. Some of it might slightly recap what Dana just shared, but so the countywide plan is organized into these 2 volumes. Volume 1 is the truly SCTA countywide plan and kind of view, and then volume 2 is where all of those local community active transportation plans live. So yeah, again, kind of the focus is really looking at creating all ages and abilities, connections to support a wider range of the population, using active transportation for their regular routine travel needs as well as recreation, focusing on regional connections, being able to plan across those jurisdictional boundaries, and then providing resources to support implementation. So this has been our schedule. I can't even believe it's December 5th. So as you can see from the schedule, I mistakenly kept our yellow box there over November, but we are actually in December now, moving towards finalizing the city ATPs and reviewing public comment and so forth. So the vision that we have in the plans is up on the slide here, and you'll see as you read through it, kind of that focus again on improving safety, connectivity, equity, and quality of life, and providing those opportunities for people of all ages and abilities to move around communities through using active transportation modes. The goals in the plan, there's 3 of them. The first focuses on connected and reliable in relation to kind of providing that active transportation network that connects to daily activities and needs. The second goal is safe and well maintained. And so employing those Vision Zero policies and strategies, both at the countywide level and the local level, to help improve safety for those active modes. And then the third being community oriented and place-based, so allowing these plans, the projects, the policies, and so forth to be tailored to each community in the county. Looking across Sonoma, or kind of highlighting some of the existing active transportation network characteristics. And so this is a summary of what we have as the existing pieces of built networks in terms of multi-use path, miles, bike lane miles, bike route miles, and separated bike lanes. And so with this plan update, it's been a while since the last prior round of plans were done for many of these communities. So it's an opportunity to enhance the kind of presence of those low stress facilities, and look for ways to connect to transit, enhance connections to transit as well. So we've been working on the plan development for about 1.5 years at this point. It's been through a combination of advisory committee and advisory body meetings, updates. We've had some couple of focus group discussions to target getting input from groups that we might not always hear from. So we had a youth focus group and a persons with disabilities focus group, and then 3 phases of engagement. The first being last fall, the second being kind of in the spring of this year, and then just now kind of with the third phase being the draft plan out for public review and comment. So those engagement activities, combination of in-person workshops, online engagement, pop-up events, and so forth. As part of the countywide, or part of that volume 1 countywide plan, we identified regional routes, and so those are in the blue lines here on this map. And so it is kind of focused on what are those north to south, east to west connections that link communities to one another, as well as to transit hubs or concentrations of access to transit. And so this kind of network, some of it already exists. Some of these links are existing multi-use paths, and then other pieces have been identified as projects in the plan itself as a way to focus on building out these regional route connections across Sonoma County. The yellow there is informational. That's an effort that MTC went through to identify what they call active transportation corridors, and that's at the kind of MTC regional level. One common thread through these plans is and that connects back to the all ages and abilities purpose is looking at how we think about and select treatments, particularly for people biking. And so incorporating some updated guidance and criteria as we think about the type of bike facility relative to the number of vehicles on the road, on that particular road or street, and the vehicle speed. And so the ATP includes guidance for both in kind of an urban or suburban or rural town context, as well as for rural roadways. And this is based on most recent guidance from FHWA and NACTO. So in the local plans that were developed as part of this effort, this table summarizes the miles of planned facilities by local jurisdiction. And so we've kind of are showing the different types of bike facilities there, as well as for some communities, we looked at existing sidewalk gaps, so additional linear feet of sidewalk, and then number of crossing improvements as well. The plans include a number of engineering resources, so in, toolboxes around ways to improve kind of pedestrian crossings, connections, and so forth, traffic calming toolbox, and then also information again about those different types of bikeway facilities. And then the SCTA countywide plan includes a set of technical appendices, and these cover the topics here on micromobility, bikeway selection and design attributes, quick builds, intersection design, and amenities to improve user experience, particularly at bus stops or transit stops. But this technical appendix for each of these topics provides some additional information that cities can reference. So the micromobility appendix gives some information about state regulations, how those regulations can vary depending on what device is being used, gives some indications or information about when we think about shared micromobility success, what are some of the things that are helpful indicators for understanding where those programs might be most successful. And then just some information about what we as an industry have seen in terms of like e-scooter use and e-bike use across the US. The bikeway selection appendix gives some more information, kind of design options and considerations, particularly for some of the newer facilities like separated bike lanes, some treatment options for slowing vehicles on bike boulevards or as kind of they're turning or navigating through intersections, and just kind of supporting info. Similarly, quick build gives some more supporting information, kind of how you might want to think about the terminology, but also thinking about the materials, and if you're trying to or interested in implementing a certain project in a kind of quick build manner, what are the types of materials you might consider depending upon what you're trying to construct. Intersection design highlights. So this technical appendix covers both pedestrian crossing consideration and treatment enhancements, particularly those related to uncontrolled marked crosswalks that might be uncontrolled, and design considerations and supporting treatments there. And then some guidance and information related to protected intersections, which are newer, not as quite as many have been built, but kind of what are those important features of creating a protected intersection where you're separating bikes kind of from all those conflicting vehicle turning movements. And then finally, the amenities for users touches considerations for kind of transit access and travel behavior, particularly as we see, climate change and greater fluctuations in heat and things of that nature. And so the importance of shade and tree coverage, and then just consideration of how do these things become implemented and maintained in coordination with transit service. Other topics covered, we talk about existing programs and practices, new programs to support walking, biking, and rolling. The countywide portion of ATP gets into a little more specifics on the prioritization criteria and the methodology used, and then summarizes, again, cost estimates, funding opportunities, and ways to monitor implementation moving forward. Yeah, so again, next steps, we're reviewing public comments this month and working on finalizing the plans for their adoption in early 2025. And questions, happy to take questions.
No questions for Aaron? Nope. Thank you, Aaron. How many times have you given presentations on active transportation plans in the last year?
More than I can count.
Anything else, Dana?
No, the comment period is still open, for a couple more days if anybody has any comments on the countywide plan. But otherwise we are going to take it to our board in February for adoption.
Sounds good. And Aaron, is all the cities on schedule to be done in advance of that February date for the county one?
They are right now. All those council adoptions are being calendared for January. So
Great, thank you.
yeah, thank you.
All right, moving on to item 5, the comprehensive transportation plan, Sonoma moves 2050. Chris.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Happy to have a few updates on our comprehensive transportation plan. So the first one will be pretty quick. So just a reminder that new project applications for the CTP are due next Friday, so December 13th. And we've included a link to the form. It's just a Google form, pretty simple, one-page application looking for a project title, amount, where it is, things like that. So if you're having any trouble with the project application, let me know and I can walk you through that and help enter anything in if there are issues with that. Just an update on the schedule, looking at getting those in next week. We'll process those on our end, in addition to the existing project updates that you all provided over the last few months. And we can bring back an updated draft project list for the CTP in January or February, depending on the timing of this meeting. And we'll take a draft list to our board in February or March, depending on when we bring the draft here and how many comments there are. So that's the schedule on the project list. So things are going relatively smoothly. Thank you all for reviewing those projects, getting those updates in, and yeah, excited to see new projects coming in as well using the form.
Question for you, particularly on the back of Aaron's presentation. Can we put in a more generic project like implementation of our active transportation plan, or do we have to identify the specific projects that we think would be moving forward?
So there's currently already an implementation of the, bike ped or ATP line item in there that kind of captures all the smaller projects.
Okay, so that's covered already.
That's covered. Yeah, you may want to take a look at that and make sure based on your recent ATP that it, the amount still looks right. And I would recommend that, the dollar amount that we're using as a rough cutoff is about $1 million. So anything smaller than that, please put in that smaller category. But if there's something you'd really like to highlight, it's a smaller dollar amount, I think we could separate that out as an individual line item as well.
Okay, and the same for pavement?
Yeah, there's a pavement maintenance category in there as well.
Anyone have questions for Chris? Anyone online, just jump in if you got something.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to remind everybody that David gave a presentation last month to the TAC about the upcoming second cycle of the SCTA funding program. And if you have a project that you want to propose there, it has to be in the CTP. So make sure that you are including those types of projects when in the submittal that is due next week.
Good
If it's not
reminder,
already
thank
in
you.
there.
Yeah, and the CTP, you know, it's a pretty simple application, so yeah, shouldn't take very long if you have some ideas. And this is, you know, it's financially unconstrained, vision, long range, so keep that in mind when you're thinking of project ideas. So, Mr. Chair, if it's okay, I can jump over to the
Please,
next
yeah, go on to
CTP item.
5.2.
So wanted to give an update on our early outreach and engagement as well. So we've been actually out in the community talking to people about transportation and about the plan. We've been looking at other plans and other outreach efforts and kind of compiling what we've been seeing there. And we actually have a survey that's been running for probably 4 or 5 months now on our website. So an online survey, and we've been promoting that through newsletters. We've had advertisements on transit. So we've been getting a decent amount of responses on that online survey. So I just wanted to give an overview of kind of what we're hearing in this early phase. And then towards the end of the CTP as well, we'll come back and show what we've been hearing through the entire process. So wanted to start out with kind of what we heard as part of our last CTP is kind of like a baseline. And we conducted an online survey as part of our last CTP. We also were out in the community. We had community meetings. We did focus groups, things like that. So this right here kind of compiles the main points, you know, the top issues with our transportation system that we saw as part of our last CTP outreach efforts. The first is it takes too much time to get around, right? You know, a lot of this outreach was happening before and during COVID. So it was interesting to hear that that was an issue then. Second top issue was our transportation system harms the environment. Third, needs to be maintained better. Fourth, costs too much. Fifth, isn't safe enough. And then people were unsure about other options to get around. And that's in the context of, you know, driving a car. So as we were putting together our new survey for the new CTP, we based that roughly on our old CTP survey so we can compare results and see how things are changing as well. So just a little bit of context to some of the information I'll be talking about today. So I mentioned that we've also been looking at other planning documents and outreach efforts that have been done across the county and the region, and we've been pulling out the major themes we're seeing in those documents, and I've highlighted some of those up here now. You know, maintenance and safety are two of the biggest issues that keep popping up in all of these documents, along with, you know, cost of travel, need for better transit. Again, time to get around is pretty high up there. Walking and biking, potholes, very related to maintenance. So these are kind of the things we're seeing in these other maintenance or other outreach efforts. And one of the main reasons we're doing this is whenever we go out into the community, you know, people are talking to us and other people about their issues over and over again. And so we want to make sure that people know they're being heard and we're being responsive to the, you know, the comments they've already been making. So as we've been out in the community to talk to people, I've highlighted a few of the major comment areas that we've been hearing. I'm not going to go through all of these, but just highlight a few of them. You know, one thing we hear a lot, especially when we get away from the Highway 101 corridor, is, you know, reliable transportation options away from the corridor are pretty difficult, especially if they're non-car options. People are very interested in bicycle pedestrian safety. You know, that was a major theme in the ATP outreach. People would like to see separated bicycle facilities. We've heard a little bit about rail freight. There's interest in that. Free transit fares. We actually held a town hall or a workshop at the Santa Rosa Junior College, and that was a major thing they're interested in there. We've been hearing a lot about safe options for kids and older adults, and we know here in Sonoma County that our population is aging, so that's a definite need we'll see going forward. And then people would like to see transit and, you know, other options better synchronized as well. So just a few of the things we're hearing from people in those live.
Before you jump off that, Chris, the e-bikes and scooters, what were you hearing about that?
People are interested in it. We've heard both excitement and a little bit of concern about, you know, the speed and conflicts with e-bikes and scooters. So it's kind of both sides. People see it as an opportunity to get around quicker, but there are definitely safety concerns about, you know, conflicts on, you know, pathways and class 1 facilities.
The
So
scooter hooligans.
we haven't heard that one, but yeah.
I missed that too.
The scooter hooligans.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about people going really fast on like class 1s, right? On e-bikes and in bike lanes, things like that. So here's a link to the survey. We have a QR code. This is a early version of the flyer that we have out in the community, trying to make it easy for people to get to the survey. So if you'd like to take it or just take a look, this is available here and on our website. Here's a look at some of this is from about a month ago. So we've received a few more responses since then, but a couple of months ago, we had about 160 responses to date. I believe that's jumped up to around 170 or 180 by now. So it's not a scientific survey at this point, but it's giving us a good idea of what's important to people. It's definitely skewed. Respondents have definitely skewed on the older range of the age scale, with about 69%, 45 and older. So we're hearing a lot from our older members of our community. 60% are employed or full or part-time, 30% retired, 80% have no children at home. So it was interesting to hear that for these respondents, and 45% telecommute or work from home, which is definitely different than what we're seeing in other survey data. I think the current telecommute rate for Sonoma County, according to the census, is about 8 or 9%. Does that sound right, Adam? Yeah. Yep.
Is there any, that's 160 people in entire Sonoma County is not that many.
It's very small.
Very unrepresentative, I would say. Maybe even you're capturing a small group that are very interested in transportation, but the other folks aren't.
Yeah.
Communicating right now. I wonder if you guys thought about how to get out to some of the other folks, like.
Yeah, we're trying to schedule in-person focus groups with different groups that we're not reaching. You know, being able to schedule something at the junior college was great. You know, that's one community that we haven't been able to talk to a lot. So it was good hearing some kind of fresh things from them. We're going to be trying to engage with older adults as well, and some Spanish speaking groups as well. So we have some leads there. We'll try and schedule some meetings with those communities. The survey is also in Spanish. I don't believe we have many responses in Spanish only yet. So hopefully we'll be able to publicize the survey a little bit more there. We have contacts with Latino service providers here in Sonoma County. So hopefully we'll be able to make some progress there as well. One other thing we're working on is putting together some videos that we can have up on social media. So hopefully maybe that could, you know, generate a little more interest for younger people and people we aren't already reaching. So
Facebook's a survey.
yeah. Or yeah, one of the other social media platforms. But yeah, we realize that we definitely have an interested captive audience here. So we're trying to get outside of that. And we'll have lots of, you know, statements and asterisks in our outreach report if we aren't able to reach a more broader cross-section of the community. So looking at the update survey, some of the results that we're hearing, the high priority transportation improvements we're hearing about now are biking and transit, medium priority walking and freight, lower driving and long distance travel. And I think this definitely is representative of kind of that smaller subset that we've heard from so far. Looking to the local streets and roads priority side, safety is the #1 issue that keeps coming up. Maintenance is also very high, with about 50% indicating that that's a high priority, and another, over 40% medium priority. So over 90% are identifying maintenance as an important thing to look at. Traffic signal synchronization is kind of split between high and low interest, so not a lot of consensus there. Looking at walking and biking, safety again is kind of the top issue that we're hearing about. People don't feel safe when they're walking and biking, especially at crossing, and we're hearing that out in the community as well. That came up, it's coming up at these other events as well. People are interested in seeing dedicated or separated bike ped routes expanded, improving connections to schools, and expanding bike lanes. Looking at transit, there was quite a bit of interest. About 2/3 of people expressed an interest in seeing more housing and commercial buildings near transit. There's interest in providing transit service for older adults and disabled individuals, increasing frequency of bus service, expanding coverage geographically. Some interest in limiting transit fares, and then some that kind of have mixed indications of interest down at the bottom. We asked if people would use transit more if routes were more convenient. #1 answer. Free fares, about 2/3 expressed an interest in that. Safety and feeling more comfortable, over 50% indicated that as a important issue. And then we're hearing kind of mixed things about the expense of driving as well. We're feeling like that's not a very important lever to people. We've heard from people talking to them in person as well that, they'll just keep paying for gas, even if it's very expensive, since it's so convenient to drive. So I don't think that the cost of driving or gas is a big factor. People would walk or bike more if it were separated from traffic. Again, there's that focus on safety, 81%. So those are both pretty related. More walking and biking infrastructure or facilities, almost 80% indicated that. Living closer to where people, that was, about 50% mentioned that. And then e-bikes or bike share, there's interest, about 40% would walk or bike more if they were able to tap into that. And less interest in bike storage or showers at destinations. We also asked about electric vehicles. So not as much interest here, but the #1 item that would really help people or encourage people to shift to EVs was incentives to purchasing vehicles and then having access to public charging stations. We asked people, what would encourage them to drive less? Again, better infrastructure, more frequent transit, free transit came up a little bit. And then a few other items showed up on kind of the lower end there. And that's where we're at. That's kind of the first cross section of what we're hearing. As I said before, this is not a fully representative sample right now, but it's a starting point. And it's kind of indicating kind of where we may be missing out, and segments of the population we may want to try and reach out to more. But just wanted to provide this early on to kind of let you know some of the themes we're hearing. I think safety is definitely a major theme that keeps coming up in everything we're seeing. Time and speed and convenience is another thing that we keep hearing about. So yeah, that's where we're at. We'll go ahead and, once we're done with the CTP and have more information, and we'll go ahead and do a comparison with the last CTP and what we've been hearing now and report on the results towards that. But yeah, just wanted to provide an early look at what we're hearing.
Thanks, Chris. Any questions? Seeing any? We will move on. Item 6.1 and 6.2, Measure M and Go Sonoma.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The invoicing and obligation status is in your in your packet. It's brought to you every month. This is an informational item so that you can track what is required for submitting invoices and or asking for obligations through Measure M and Go Sonoma. Everybody, I think, is pretty current right now, so there probably isn't any action to be taken, but this is for your information so you can track it yourselves. And then 6.2 is the revised presentation schedule. We had a couple of things come up at the Citizens Advisory Committee meeting where we had a really packed agenda and we didn't get to everything, and it ended up bumping some of the presentations. So we had to sort of revise what was left of the year in the presentation schedule. So this is just for your information. Things have been shifted around a bit, but so if you haven't already given your presentation to the CAC, then please make note in case anything has changed.
Shannon,
Yes.
if I may, I accidentally printed up the schedule, so if you want a hard copy of the schedule, it's right here at the table.
That's handy. Thanks, dear. Thanks, Drew.
Shauna, when do you anticipate on starting the discussion for the next year's cycle for dates?
For dates, I usually put that together at the beginning of the fiscal year, so I try to bring it to the TAC in June before the fiscal year ends so that I can present it to the CAC in July.
The reason I ask is the county regional parks was on the schedule very early in the fiscal year, and so let's touch base on what the thinking is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet. That completes item 6, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And there doesn't seem to be any additional questions. So item 7, regional information update, 7.1. Inactive federal obligations, informational only. Anything to add?
No, Mr. Chair, this is brought to you every month, so take action if needed. We have had some success in getting quite a few of the projects off of this list, but it is easy to end right back up on there. So it's just a reminder that it's good standard practice to invoice quarterly. That will help keep you off of the inactive obligation list if you are at the end of your project and you haven't and you're still trying to do cleanup before you get that last report, closeout report and everything done, then if you can charge for staff time, usually Caltrans will process that to help keep you off the list. If you have a federal obligation that is getting ready to close out, but is not ready to be actually finished yet. That's just a suggestion. And then item 7.2 is an informational item. I apologize for it being so close to the board meeting that we are actually taking to the board on Monday. But we do a biannual update to the SCTA board on the funding and obligation status of federal and state projects. This is something that you guys see twice a year, and then we take it to the board twice a year. So please look it over. If you have any questions or if you have any issues or comments about what is included in the list, please let me know as soon as possible, since it will go to the board on Monday. It is a consent item, so I don't anticipate any questions, but should they come up, I would like to be prepared in case there's anything that you feel is not accurate on the list.
Thank you. Anyone have questions on either of those two items? Seeing none, item 8 is the upcoming meeting, which, as Shauna just mentioned, is on Monday. Anything else we need to add about that?
There the agenda. So we'll be meeting on Monday. Consent calendar will include the meeting notes, the proposed 2025 meeting schedule, quarterly financial update, the annual audits, an audit service contract extension, agreements with the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration. I think that's what that acronym is. Legislative update, transportation demand management plan contract, task order with Mark Thomas and Company for Safe Streets and Roads for All Vision Zero Action Plan. There's a lot on consent for contracts. Regular calendar includes a presentation from Sonoma Clean Power and progress report for the CTP, update on State Route 37, and on the Marin Sonoma Narrows and HOV hours of operation. And then regular reports as usual.
And it's worth noting that we anticipate that the January meeting will be canceled. Hasn't happened yet. It will happen at the meeting on Monday, but we will be asking for that, I think. So barring any unforeseen requirement of a January meeting, we will not have a January meeting. So it will be December, and then the next board meeting will be in February.
Great, thanks. So item 9, roundtable. Anyone have any discussions, questions, comments? Good stories, retirements.
I'll share a good story, not a
Yeah,
retirement.
let's hear it.
We were happy to receive the Priority Conservation Area grant for the Sonoma Shellville Trail Design. Thank you, Sonoma and SCTA, for your support for the project. It was a very competitive field, and our request was reduced by 130,000. So our board, we asked for 680 and now it's down to 550, but we're really happy to have some funding identified for our next steps on that project.
Great.
And I see that Santa Rosa was also on the list with their Greenway project, Southeast Greenway.
Adam
Garcia, data analyst. Just one quick brief update. Currently, we're going through an update to our travel model to update conditions to 2023 for existing conditions. That includes land uses. We're working with the PAC to make sure that those are updated. We'll bring something likely to the next meeting that is also related to the 2023 update in terms of where the actual travel model network shows, if there are any updates to where the main travel patterns are within the county. So just looking forward to that update, and that's all.
Thanks, Adam. Anyone else? I'm told APWA is having a thing Wednesday night at Epicenter. They're trying to reach out to the North Bay. So if anyone is interested in that, $10 to join, so you can afford it and support them.
Mr. Chair, I have
Yes.
one other reminder, just because we are closing in on the end of the year and you guys should all be doing your SB1 roads reporting around now. I think it's due at the end of the year, if you haven't already done it. And by that, I mean your maintenance of effort reporting to the state. And so it's just after that in January where we start asking you for that same information on the measure for Go Sonoma or for Measure M.
The local streets and roads report that gets to the state.
It's the maintenance of effort. Yeah, it's the maintenance of effort requirement that you guys do. You provide all that information to the state, and then in January, we start asking you for your maintenance of effort reporting for Measure M. And then it ends up being due in March, I think, but I'm reminding you because I believe it's due to the state by the end of the year. And so it's, as long as it's fresh in your mind, should be, bookmark that so that you're ready to have all that at your fingertips when you start doing it for Measure M next month.
Got it. Anything else? Yes. Knew you had some.
Couple things. So Safe Streets for All came back with the SCTA's application being accepted at a reduced amount, but one of the few that got accepted. So I wanted to thank your staff, Margot, here for putting that application together. It was a spectacular application. So I really appreciate that. There's These are the quick build bike and head facilities that can be done. And I think Petaluma, Cotati, Santa Rosa.
Windsor,
Windsor, yes.
Cotati, yeah.
So a win.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you very much. We're all very proud of Margot and her team for getting that. And not only were we successful, but we were highlighted in the federal announcement as one of the model projects. So we're very pleased. And it was at a reduced rate. We got about half of what we asked for.
Second item, just another reminder. PTAP 26, cycle 26 is due. The applications are due tomorrow at 4 p.m. So if you're in that 2-year cycle, 26.
Thank you for
put
that.
Together, that can all be done online.
Anything else? All right, we're adjourned. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Look, it's festive.